What is going on? Welcome back to Jiu-Jitsu Outlet. I'm here with Mr. Chris Ortiz. Chris, you've been on the show before to talk about how Jiu-Jitsu's helped your mental health and your life off the mats. So, guys, if you're listening to this, I'll put a link down below if you want to learn more about that. But, Chris, I just want to dive into talking about your new book, man. I really love what you're doing. Tell us about this project. Like, how did you get started writing a children's book about Jiu-Jitsu?
Yeah, well, let me start off by doing this. I want to give you your roses because you've been growing this beautiful community, on Facebook and on Instagram, and it's nice. You've really seen it grow, and like you've seen people chirp in quite a bit over CGI and ADCC. And I like to say thank you for giving us a spot to come and chit chat and talk all things grappling. So before I talk about that, big shout out to you, man, for purporting,
Thanks, man.
Giving us what we need in order to communicate with one another.
Here to help, man. Here to help.
All right. So as far as the book goes, I've got this new book, and it's called Flow State. And writing children's books is not new to me. Writing children's books is something that I've been doing for a while. This actually makes book number 6, right? But on book number 6, man, I wrote about something that's a passion, to not only you, but to me and, our community, so to speak. And it's a book about the benefits of combat sports for our young people. As someone that works in a school, as someone that's been a teacher for like 21 years, I can tell you that education needs combat sports. Education could really benefit from having, we'll just say, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu introduced. Because there's a lot of young people that are searching for their tribe. There's a lot of young people that are needing to get their energy out in a good way. And there's a lot of people that could use like a real good role model, and I think that we could do better in the public education system if we could start bringing in, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and other combat sports. So this book is kind of like my first step and getting the rolling. So thank you for giving me a platform to speak, Paul.
What made you want to do something like this, like doing a children's book specifically about jiu-jitsu? Was there something that happened that made you feel like, oh man, we really got to do this?
No. Actually, and maybe yes, but like what I see is like when I get my wrestlers that come in, because we have a really good wrestling program at the high school, or when I see some of my students that train jiu-jitsu at the same academy as I train, or they do the kickboxing or whatnot, those kids are just different. They have so much, respect for the learning process. They're wonderful students. They're courteous. They're nice. And it just really got me to thinking like, wow, what if, 25 of the 30 students in my classroom are like this, not just like one or two. Now, I am very blessed to work in a community like where our schools are top notch. We got really, really nice kids. But with that being said, I see like a lot of room for combat sports helping that. I'll call them the 3 to 5% that take up 90% of an administrator's time.
Yeah, it's like it's a good outlet for those kids who might need a little bit of extra energy release.
Oh my God. Yeah. And then just all the things that have helped you come to love, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and me, like the humility, the losing of one's ego, or at least like keeping it in check, discipline. So like each page is something different that a young person can garner from training in combat sports.
Yeah, I really love it, man. And I love how you tie in different influential figures in jiu-jitsu into the book. I really like seeing Heath Pedigo in there and a lot of the other guys you chose. How did you decide who was going to be in the book and who you're going to include?
So I tried to do something that was a little bit outside the box. Like I tried to bring people in from the community, so to speak. So I started, from the inside and worked my way out. And I went with a lot of like H-Town legends. I picked my professors, Alex Morano and Matt Wald. And there's a guy named Jeremy Mahone over at War Training Center, and Draculino. He's the godfather of Texas Jiu-Jitsu. And it was kind of like a thank you to them, giving them their roses because they're extremely influential in the scene and they are great at what they do. Like from one teacher to another, those are some master teachers. Like we as instructors, we could benefit if like we went and watched them instruct. I get more out of going to class than I do out of traditional professional development, and wonderful teachers. But then, I started working my way out. And like you mentioned, Heath Pedigo, holy smokes, like who does not love that story? Working your way out of a laundromat. And then for the people that really know the story, there was even a place before the laundromat, and to where they're at now. They've got this beautiful established place out there in Mount Vernon. They are growing the wrestling program, Alejandro and then Michael Pixley, who may have created the ADCC, moment of the weekend by submitting Marigali. Like, how could you not go? That's like the feel-good story in America, if you ask me, about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And it's littered with feel-good stories, but that moment, man, that was it. And I'll tell you what, Alejandro and Michael Pixley, their caricatures are right there. There's a picture, an image of the Mount Vernon wrestling team, and Alejandro and Pixley are the ones that are pictured in the back. And I had let them know beforehand. I had just told them, though, I wanted it to be more about the wrestlers.
Dude, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. We'll have to get them a copy of the book when it's out. Is it out yet? Like, where can people get this if they want to check it out?
So the book should be coming out like 2 days. Speak of the devil. I have someone working on my website trying to get the link to go live. Unfortunately, she's got a day job, right? So she's taking care of it as soon as she gets out of work, and it should be up for purchase, by the time that this podcast hits. But what is today? August the 20th? Yeah, August the 20th, this evening. It should be, ready to go.
That's awesome.
CoachOrtiz.com.
Dude, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I'll put all the links where people can check this out in the description and show notes. But dude, I wanted to ask you one more thing. Like the art in the book, I really liked it. I thought it was really cool. How did you pick these different images? And I know you worked with someone who helped you do the illustration, right? Can you tell us a little bit about that process? Because I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, so I went back to the well. I had one book that was wildly successful and popular, here in Houston. And I was like, I'm going to go back and use this artist. So I just collaborated. What I would do is I'd shoot these images over. I'd scour the internet and find some really cool pictures. And then I'd say, hey, can you kind of put your little pizzazz on it? Can you put your stamp, on this piece of work? And could you blend this image with that image? And, before you know it, she was able to create some stuff that I think it's special. You could look at the images. I've got this young man. He actually attends the school that I go to. His name is Mason Millsap. Won a national championship in his wrestling division last year. One of the reasons I selected him is that he has had a rough go of it over the last year. He had a unfortunate passing in his family, and most people would have been broken. I'd say 90% of the people at his age had every reason in the world to start making poor choices, bad decisions and whatnot. And this kid, man, he inspires me. He started making better decisions. He became a better version of himself. He became a better wrestler. Even at the high school, they're like, oh my God, I can't wait to get this kid. But long story short, I included him in the story. And there's just all kinds of different examples, Paul, people that inspire me. So if you see someone in the book, just know it's someone of significance and someone that I look in the highest regards to.
That's awesome, man. I really love learning about people's creative processes and stuff like that. I think it's really cool. How did you decide on the name for the book? Let's talk a little about that.
Oh, Paul, man. Hey, me and you as jiu-jitsu bros, when we are training, we're at our optimum whenever we're flowing, right? And this whole book is about human improvement or youth improvement through the use of martial arts and combat sports. So I just thought flow state would be the perfect word. And whenever things are just going perfectly on the mat, I don't know what you call it, but it's I'm flowing, Paul. I'm flowing. So my hope is to get these young people to, flow and get to that spot in their life where everything's just flowing, man.
That's really cool, man. I've thought about this a lot. That flow state, I think it's almost like a Zen state. Like you hear about Zen monks talking about entering into some sort of a Zen state. And I think that's kind of what they're talking about. It's like that state of mindlessness where you're just moving and you're just existing and breathing and doing all these wonderful things. And you're right. That's really one of the great things that martial arts gives us.
Oh my God, right? It's you're fully immersed in what you're doing. You're hyperly aware of what's going on. And it's one of those things that I think martial arts is one of the few places where you could go and continuously find that flow state. People talk about it in other sports too, like they're in the zone, they're focused, they're locked in. For us combat sports folks, like even like strikers, right? Like when the hands and the feet are just moving perfectly, they're flowing. They say it's effortless. They don't even have to think about it. It's very like reactionary. Same thing with us jiu-jitsu guys. We're just flowing. The cool thing though is that like us jiu-jitsu guys, Paul, like we could take that flow state into the world, make it a better place. So that's why I want to advocate. Let's get these kids involved.
How do you feel like martial arts can help these kids as they're growing up?
Man, I think that it could help immensely. Number one, young people, I can tell you this without a shadow of a doubt, man, like they're looking for somebody to go and follow, right? So you could either let them look at the internet and let them go, follow some of the not so good people of the world that have these crazy opinions and are very divisive, or you could have them follow somebody that, not only talks the talk, but walks the walk, someone that's kind, that's disciplined, that watches their diet, someone that is empathetic, someone that takes their nutrition and their hydration seriously, someone that is empathetic, so to speak. So we need to provide kids with something like that. And unfortunately, sometimes the classroom just ain't going to get it done, right? Like it's interesting, but at the same time, it can be boring, right? So let's give them an outlet.
Right, man. That's it, man. Kids need an outlet. I mean, I think all humans do, but especially kids when they're growing up. Otherwise, the body holds on to that trauma and that stress of whatever that they're going through, and it's a powerful thing when we start to create movement through the body.
Yeah, and what's one of the unfortunate things about our wonderful sport is that it's like it can be pricey, right? Like those mats aren't cheap. Paying rent isn't cheap. Like I understand it. I think that price barrier probably keeps some people out. So as of late, I'm trying to become a very big advocate to see if like we can get some of these public schools to pony up a little bit of money and do some trial programs, like with some of the struggling kids that nothing else is working on. Like the ones that spend all day in ISS or perpetually kicked out. Like, could you imagine, like, if, say, like Sean Strickland or Nate Diaz and Nick Diaz, Bobby King Green, people like that had found martial arts a little bit sooner? Like, maybe they could have avoided, like, some of the stuff that they unnecessarily went through. I know it's part of what makes them them, but just finding it a little bit sooner because, they'll all tell you, like, it was a blessing, to find combat sports in one regard or another.
Yeah, 100%, man. 100%. I think that that's a beautiful idea. How do you feel like we can get the education system to adopt this? Because I totally agree, but I mean, there's so much red tape involved. How do you feel like we can actually make something like this happen?
I think first is like you got to remove the stigma. For whatever reason, people believe like practicing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or the grappling arts or something like that, like it makes people like more violent, more dangerous. And number one, it's quite the opposite. It's going to make you more calm, cool, caring, collective. Because when you have the confidence to walk into a room and nobody is a threat, well, then you can, put your chest back down and relax, and you don't have to act like something that you're not.
Right.
Right. So just getting the general public to understand that people are going to become less violent, and Joe Rogan expounds upon this all the flipping time. But number two, I think that we should really like target, the young people that they find themselves in these precarious situations each and every day. And then we send them to like reassignment schools, or we send them to some off-campus program where it's like military style and whatnot. And like, why not conduct like some tests, right? Like, I'm not saying that we need jiu-jitsu in every school. That's a bit much. I think that would water down Brazilian jiu-jitsu. But I do think that like you could give like one, professional trained, someone that's got quite a bit of experience and put them in charge of like a small group of like 15 to 20 quote unquote throwaway kids that society has already given up on. And let's see, like, I do think if I was to get like a 50%, like success. Like if the kids, change their attitude a little bit, they're more engaged in school or whatnot. I think like even at 50%, like something like that is a worthy endeavor worth trying. And I really do think that we could hit more than 50% because there's the mentorship, there's the energy, expenditure, there's the ego that's being humbled, there's the leader that they're looking for, that father figure, so to speak, if that's what they're looking for. I think that its time has come. We just need, some of the big dogs to step up and, just verbalize it more and more and more. Like if anything, dude, this weekend was a huge weekend for jiu-jitsu. Like imagine if Craig Jones came out and started rattling the cage, because the whole CGI was about making jiu-jitsu more accessible for the world, putting it on YouTube, right? Paying the fighters what they deserve to be paid. Like, we just need the right people to help get behind us, man. And like people like you giving me a platform, you're helping it.
That's what it's all about, making it more accessible so we can help more people experience these benefits. Because I've found a lot of the times the reason why people don't train or don't continue training is because of accessibility, and it's hard to get to for some reason. And or there's some barrier, or maybe there's not the right environment for them, or for some reason like that. And if we can remove those barriers to entry and almost like take away people's excuses, so to speak, then we can really get them to train. Because I really believe that like people need this stuff just at all levels, but especially when they're a kid. I think it's super important. So thanks for trying to do this, man, and getting it into the schools.
Oh, heck yeah. And, like I said, Craig did something huge this weekend. Like we witnessed something monumental, right? Like I think because of this weekend, one of the unintended or intended consequences is like jiu-jitsu is going to be seen now as a sport that people can reach out to and now make a living at. It's not just a passion project anymore. Like we witnessed something special. Like it's turning into a legitimate sport. It's not just like the Olympics where you train forever and you don't get paid. It's actually turning into something where there's money to be won, and you can eat, drink, live, sleep like a professional athlete if you want to in the game of jiu-jitsu. So we're trending in that direction. It's coming. It's just a matter of, not if, but when.
Oh yeah, 100%. It's happened for two guys this past weekend at the CGI, and I think it's just the start. We saw at the PGF, Andy Varela won a bunch of money. Those guys all got paid as well. So it's been kind of trending in that direction, and I think it's just the beginning. I think we're entering into kind of like a golden age of martial arts, and it's really exciting to be a part of it. And I think that it's just getting started, man, because if you think about it, think about the NFL, for instance. Think about how many jobs are created by football as a sport, how many jobs are created by soccer worldwide. And that's what people don't understand about the growth of martial arts, is that it creates more opportunity for people to work and have a living doing this thing, and basically just get to be a kid all day. Like it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun if you get to just make a living doing jiu-jitsu. And if you figure that out somehow, you get to just train all day pretty much. It's pretty cool.
Well, I actually had a question for you.
Yeah.
Dude, you had an opportunity to train with Heath Pedigo, man. Tell me what that's like, because I've spoken to Alejandro and Jacob Couch, and they've kind of given me their 2 cents, and they pretty much like came up with that guy. But you, as someone that's, probably, was that the first or second time you've been able to train with them?
Oh, I go there quite often. I've been going there since last year. I was going every week, but I since have gone down to like more like once a month. But I've lost count of how many times I've been up there.
Well, as an outsider, he's someone that I think needs to be studied. So I wanted to pick your brain. Tell me,
for sure,
what is the magic behind what Heath's doing up there?
Well, it's amazing, I'd say. But also just that with him specifically, first of all, he's super tough. Like if you get to roll with him, he beats the crap out of me. And he's really good. He's really good at jiu-jitsu, like just as himself, I think the first time we rolled, he got me in like a no arm triangle or something. Like he just like crushed my face with both of his legs. He's very, very strong. So like he's very good at jiu-jitsu himself, and he'll put it on you if you get to roll
What
with
about Heath,
him.
the leader, though? Heath, the
The
leader of men.
leader. Well, one time the bathrooms overflowed, and Heath was out there cleaning them, and everyone else was training, and he had like one dude helping him out, and I was like, "Hey, you need some help?" And he was like, "No, no, man, I got it." And yeah, that's just like I see him. Just he's like a very servant leader. Like he definitely puts the other guys forward more than him, and he's very good. Like whenever he teaches, one of the things that I took away from him, a couple of things, is like he's almost like an MC when he's leading the class. Like it's the traditional jiu-jitsu coach, it's like there's a warm up and then there's like technique time and then maybe you'll do some positional rounds and then rolling time. And Heath just has a completely different structure for the classes, and it's more like he's the MC, just like keeping the action going. And he'll show a couple of techniques, but he'll like intersperse it with games a lot more. Like it'll be like, oh, and there's never any real warm up or anything either. It's like if you want to warm up, just show up early and stretch. But as soon as the class starts, it's like, all right, we're going to do a technique. Then we're going to play a game with a technique. And then we're going to like maybe go a little harder. And then we're going to do a different technique. And then maybe a different game. And then we're going to roll or something like that. Like it's very, I don't know. It's not like any other traditional jiu-jitsu class I've had, if that makes sense.
Sounds like it keeps you on your toes and y'all are interested and always
Yeah.
what's next.
Super interesting, like super engaging, super fun. And definitely not just us listening to him talk for 30 minutes. You know what I mean? Like it's more like, okay, he's going to show a technique and then we're going to play a game with it. And then we're going to roll a little bit, then another technique, and then maybe another technique. You know what I mean? And he kind of mixes it up. But honestly, no two classes that I've had with Heath have really been the same, I would say. Like they're always kind of like a different structure, which is great. Like I love it. I think it's awesome. And he's also really good at mixing up different roles within the class. Like within teaching a technique, he'll show like how this would work for a law enforcement person versus a sport athlete versus MMA. He'll like cover all those different grounds within one technique. He'll be like, okay, because some of his students, they work in corrections or they might work in the police, and then others are training for competition. So he does a really good job at like catering to everyone in the room, because he'll have like 50 people in every class. And some of those people are there for self-defense and some are there for jiu-jitsu competition. So he does a good job at like teaching the whole crowd.
That's awesome. It sounds like he sees everybody.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. That's a good way to put it.
The best teachers, man, that's what they do, man. They could see what everyone needs, and they could find in their own special way, find a way to address everybody's needs. So that's really neat to hear.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Like that's the biggest thing that I've taken away from Pedagos and the training there is like they train super hard. Like it'll be some of the toughest rounds you'll ever have, but it's a lot of fun. Like the environment there is very fun. I always have a great time. I mean, I get my ass kicked by Michael Pixley, but I have a good time.
You get a pass on that, man.
It's fun. It's a great time. But maybe I'm a bit of a masochist there. Who knows? I might have a different definition of fun. My definition of fun apparently involves getting haragoshi'd into the mat or something. But yeah,
different folks.
Exactly. But yeah, you should come visit sometime, man.
That was the plan this last summer, was to head up there and
let me know. I'm only 4 hours away, so I try to get up there as often as I can.
We had a small caravan planned, and then people just started dropping like flies whenever it came down to rock and roll, man. And I was the only one left standing, so I forwarded. But next summer, I think I could make it happen with or without people.
Let's do it, man. Well, you can come drop by here first. I think we'd be kind of on the way for you, and then we could even ride up together. Yes, sir. Jump in the river, man. Well, Chris, thanks so much for coming on the show. And let us know, where can people find you if they want to find out more about the book?
Yeah, you could find me at coachortiz.com. That's where you can find all my books. But really, for our jiu-jitsu community, Flow State. And again, it's something that I'm passionate about. I'm not even so much worried about like book sales. Like it's gonna take care of itself. I really want this this movement of like trying to get combat sports, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in particular, like to as many young people as possible, and break that barrier down that we had spoken about earlier, man. So thank you for giving me the platform.
Well, thanks for coming on the platform, man. I appreciate you, and wouldn't exist without wonderful guests like you, man.
All right, man. Well, hey, have a blessed one. Hey, wish your boy luck. We got an open house tonight.
Heck yeah, dude. Much love, dude. Well, have a good one, and let's talk soon.
Yes, sir.